Welcome to the Water Guys podcast. My name's Louis Borges. Joining me as always, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Shane McCarthy.
Hello, good sir. How are you today?
Doing fantastic today. We're going to do a deep dive on hydrogen inhalation. So a lot of you might be scratching your heads and go, what are you talking about hydrogen inhalation? Some of you are familiar with things like hydrogen water and other benefits that come from that therapy, but we want to get a little specific on inhalation. And also, what is it about hydrogen that seems to have these therapeutic benefits? There's a lot of verbiage being tossed around. A lot of people, even with accurate information, they're reading the information out of the scientific studies, but they're not really explaining what does that mean? Like, what is the implication of that? So we're going to do our best to break down something very complicated, make it simple, and explain to you what is hydrogen therapy? How can you get it in your life? If you're interested in inhalation, how much of that do you need? And then also, what will that do to benefit your health? What are some of the things you can expect from that? And as always, we've got tons of videos and imagery to break that all down. So welcome everybody to our show. Again, thank you for everybody who's been subscribing and following along. We really appreciate your feedback. Leave us your comments in this comment section, and we're happy to respond. So let's get started with the 4 types of hydrogen delivery methods. Perfect. And then we'll get into more of inhalation specifically. So let's check this out.
There are 4 main methods of H2 administration. Number 1, drinking water that contains dissolved H2 gas, which generally is the most common form of administration, and at least the most convenient. Number 2, inhalation of H2 gas. This gives you a longer exposure to hydrogen, and it has other benefits. Number 3, intravenous injection of H2-rich saline. This is generally used only in animal studies. Now, although some clinics may do it, there is actually no evidence that this method is more effective than other methods. Finally, number 4, bathing in water with the dissolved hydrogen gas. This is becoming more popular and may have systemic benefits in addition to the topical applications on the...
Yeah, so very important too. And if you can get a machine that will do all of those, with the exception of the intravenous, but if you can get inhalation, water, and something that will produce that gas in your bathing water, then you're off to the races. That's a good machine, right? Some machines only do limited functions. So if you are in the market for an inhalation machine, try to find one that will do as many things as possible. They do exist. We have one, which we'll talk about later. But let's talk about what specifically about hydrogen inhalation is important, and then we'll get into how much do you need. This is our friend Taiwan Hubbard, who runs the YouTube channel H2 Minutes. He's a great resource for information and fact-based data when it comes to hydrogen. So let's check out Taiwan Hubbard on hydrogen inhalation.
Breathing hydrogen gas is just another administration method to get hydrogen gas into your body. The benefits we talked about before with hydrogen water apply here too, with some variations, but we'll get to that in a sec. Hydrogen gas is able to be inhaled by using a special device that produces the gas. Then usually it's inhaled through a nasal cannula, which, if you do not know what that is, it's the tiny tubes that you stick in your nose, usually for oxygen purposes in hospitals or for people who need to carry around oxygen tanks. There are different types of products for breathing hydrogen, which I will discuss more in a little bit. There are also different devices you can use to breathe hydrogen, whether it's pure hydrogen gas, hydrogen-oxygen mixture, or hydrogen gas mixed with air. But I'll get more into that too. So what are the advantages of hydrogen inhalation? Breathing hydrogen gas allows people to inhale higher milligrams of molecular hydrogen per day than drinking hydrogen water. Hydrogen inhalation appears to be a better delivery system of molecular hydrogen to the circulatory system, and it can yield higher concentrations of molecular hydrogen within organs and tissues. Inhalation seems to be better suited for traumatic injuries or acute disorders or diseases, such as traumatic brain injury, heart attacks, cardiac arrest, strokes, etc. Asia is way ahead of us in America in regards to hydrogen research and implementing hydrogen therapy. The Japanese Ministry of Health, which is kind of equivalent to our FDA, has already approved hydrogen inhalation as a certified advanced medical treatment for post-cardiac arrest syndrome, and they are implementing it in hospitals. Hydrogen inhalation is a great way to ingest hydrogen without drinking a lot of water. Obviously, I don't want to take away from the importance of staying hydrated and drinking plenty of water. But with some hydrogen water products, you have to drink a ridiculous amount of water per day to get what is considered to be therapeutic based on the research. It would be an advantage for those with kidney problems who cannot drink a lot of water. And also the elderly or handicapped people who have a hard time getting up and going to the bathroom frequently. Basically, anyone who has a hard time drinking a lot of water, this will be an easy way to get more hydrogen in you. Another big advantage with breathing hydrogen is you can get a lot into your body in a small amount of time. This helps greatly with intermittent exposure. The scientific literature points to intermittent exposure of H2 being more beneficial than constant exposure. Constant exposure may desensitize metabolic pathways over time. Hydrogen gas is appearing to be primarily a gaseous signal modulator that will stimulate metabolic pathways, signal transduction, activate a host of transcription factors leading to gene expression. It normally takes 2 hours or more after cells are exposed to elevated levels of H2 to see changes in signal transduction. This effect can last hours or even weeks after hydrogen has already left the body. So you can see how drinking water with a low dissolved hydrogen concentration and having to drink a lot to reach the daily therapeutic target, that by drinking that water all day, you are exposing yourself to an extended low dose of hydrogen without letting your body come back down to its basal level. This is how your body can get desensitized to hydrogen, and the benefits may diminish over time. But with inhalation, you can breathe hydrogen once or twice per day and give your body plenty of time so you won't get used to it.
So yeah, again, that's the whole point of get a product that is high enough quality where it's producing therapeutic benefits, giving you enough. Because as he mentioned, if you were to buy a $100 water bottle on Amazon and to get a therapeutic dose, you'd have to drink 27 of them a day. You're going to
Yeah.
get desensitized to that. Your body's looking for short periods of time at high doses. And again, there's no toxic limit. So there really is no dose that's too high.
Well, and I mean, 27 bottles at, let's say, 250 milliliters per bottle
Yeah.
is what, like, was that 7 liters a day?
Yeah.
that you're
And those
doing?
bottles don't last long between charging. So you'd have to
No.
literally charge that bottle 2 or 3 times every single day.
Yeah.
That's impossible for somebody to have to do. It's not a therapy if it's a pain in your butt to do it all the time, right?
Well, yeah, and I love the intermittent aspect of the inhalation. You know, if when you have an inhalation machine that's doing enough gas, you can breathe it in for 10-15 minutes and then come back and breathe it in for 10-15 minutes later, or it gives you that option to, you know, because we live in a pretty hectic field, like, area in life, and it's not everybody has the time to sit down for half an hour or an hour at a time to do this therapy.
Yeah.
But that's really that's what hydrogen inhalation is. Excuse me, sorry. Is hydrogen? It's the purest form of hydrogen therapy.
Yeah, and I mean, it all depends on what I mean, if you were to do it at night before bed, everybody would have the 20 minutes or half an hour. And again, as I said, having a higher flow machine, it's going to allow you to absorb more in a shorter amount of time. So if you buy one of those little cubes that you see for $1,500, let's say, you'd have to sit on that for at least an hour to 2 hours every session to get the minimum dosage. Whereas with a higher flow machine, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're good. And again, your body will exhale whatever you're not absorbing. So you're never going to overdo it, but it's nice to have machines that do multiple functions because they are expensive, and you want to have one that will do as many things as you can. And B, you want to make sure that you're inhaling the correct dose. So what is the correct dose? Taiwan, who we just saw, also has a video clip later in that same video. I've condensed them for our purposes here, but he mentions what is considered to be a therapeutic dose when it comes to inhalation. So let's check that out.
Ultimately, there's evidence that supports drinking H2 water and inhaling hydrogen at the same time or in conjunction to one another, and that it provides a greater therapeutic effect on gene expression than doing both therapies separately, which is what we do at my house. Now, the next important question. How much do you need? In terms of dose, breathing H2 works a little bit differently than H2 water. With H2 water, there is a preliminary suggested milligram per day minimum that one should strive for. This comes with knowing the milligram per liter of H2 that's in your water, being able to measure the H2 concentration, and knowing the volume of water to determine the milligram. You can learn more about that by clicking the card. But hydrogen inhalation is primarily about the H2 gas flow rate and or the H2 concentration percentage. The flow rate is how much hydrogen gas is actually being produced and coming out of the cannula each minute. This is typically represented in a milliliter per minute number. Basically, the faster the milliliter per minute flow rate, the faster the H2 will saturate the blood, thus saturating the cells, tissue, and organs faster as well. Also, the higher the flow rate, the better the device will be at compensating for the losses of gas from the cannula. When using any type of cannula, there will always be some gas that escapes into the atmosphere. Hydrogen is just too light as a gas and it goes wherever it wants to go. But with higher flow rates, there is more room for that loss. The scientific literature is suggesting that for H2 inhalation to be therapeutic, it needs to be in the range of 2 to 4% by volume at normal resting breathing rate. A normal resting breathing rate is around 5 to 6 liters per minute. So that would mean the flow rate would need to be at least 120 to 240 milliliters per minute to be therapeutic at normal resting breathing rates. But obviously, the higher the better. The research suggests that there is definitely an amount that is not enough, but there is not an amount that appears to be too much or too high. This is due to the fact that our lungs will simply exhale the extra hydrogen gas, and H2 truly doesn't build up in our system. In fact, H2 for ingestion purposes has an extremely high safety profile. You can find out more about that in our video about the safety of H2.
And a lot of that information is available at the Molecular Hydrogen Institute. I believe it's molecularhydrogeninstitute.org. Everything from what is it, how do I implement it in my life, what specific health conditions can it help with, which ones can it prevent. So if you're interested in this topic, definitely check out the Molecular Hydrogen Institute. They are not for profit. They don't endorse products or sell products. They just want to give people the straight goods on what is this all about, what is real, what is not real. Because without them, we're simply left with the claims of product manufacturers that say we do A, B, and C with nobody holding them to task or asking them to prove it. It becomes, you're now just taking the word from the people selling products rather than a science-based, medical-based thing. And I wanted to find some doctors and more clinics all the time are using it. In fact, we have a client of ours, Dr. Frank, who owns Harris Road Chiropractic. I got a video from him and a patient who tried hydrogen therapy for the first time, what they experienced and how they felt after. But before I play that, I found a doctor who had a stroke and is himself using hydrogen inhalation to deal with chronic or post-traumatic brain damage, essentially. And kind of like, they do certain therapies for drowning victims where they can sort of lower their core body temperature, lower their metabolism, effectively reduce the damage that it does in the brain. That he's trying to see, once the damage has occurred, can hydrogen be used as a therapy to speed the healing after something like a stroke or a major brain issue. So we'll check that out. And then we'll listen to a live patient testimonial from our friend, Dr. Frank.
Hydrogen helps mitochondria function better. For me, using hydrogen for my stroke and for my brain injuries, I found that I can exercise longer without fatigue. I've been using it for about a month now. 20 to 30 minutes of hydrogen can be immensely helpful in treating all kinds of brain injury, all kinds of dysfunction in the body, heart-related issues, kidney-related issues. It can help with digestion, microbiome in the gut. So hydrogen is kind of fantastic.
I agree. I agree that the hydrogen is kind of fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know what? Excuse me. Sorry. The first thing I noticed, actually, having experience in the inhalation industry, was, and I wanted to hear your thoughts, Louis, is the cannula that he was using, because that was
that is your typical Yeah, it's your typical vinyl cannula. It looks like clear plastic hosing, aquarium pumps. You see old folks at the nursing home using them.
Yep.
Not ideal.
Yep.
There's BPA in that. There's vinyl. It could be made of PVC. Just because it's clear, you don't necessarily know what's in it. Also, they can kink, so they can bend, restricting the flow, not giving you what you think is a therapeutic dose. They're not good in hot or cold temperatures, and they you can have a smell from them. They off gas, and they don't last very long. And yeah, it's just like cheap aquarium hosing. Our machine.
Well,
Go ahead.
in addition to that, we got to remember what makes hydrogen so incredible, and that is its tiny molecular structure.
Sure.
And so
we
I
can go right
want,
through
you know,
those cheap hoses.
yeah, while he's getting some hydrogen for sure, because it's obviously helping, it's obviously working. He could be getting a lot more if that cannula was properly designed. But that's just being aware of this. Was something that I noticed right away.
Yeah. And you'll see that too. Various machines of various qualities will also have various quality accessories that go with them. Typically, the lesser quality machines are coming with cheap plastic hosing because that's part of the way they can sell it for as cheap as they do. Where as other machines are more concerned on just quality. Yes, they're expensive, but they don't stinge on things like that. So they'll come with like silicone or like a thick diameter white hose. That hose is made of the same material that your kitchen spatulas are made of. So good up to like 600 degrees Fahrenheit, extreme hot, extreme cold. They don't kink. They can be brought back to life by just boiling them in boiling water for 15 minutes. Again, it won't melt anything because it's good up to 600 degrees. So boiling water would be nothing. They last longer. They have little moisture collecting cups because, again, you're taking water, splitting it into its elemental gases, and then breathing that in. So the humidity level of that air mixed with the gas is a little higher than ideally it should be. All those cheap clear hoses don't come with any way of collecting the moisture. Some of them have a moisture cup on the machine, which does that dehumidification. So there's many ways around that as well, but you'll notice that the better quality machines seem to have better quality everything, and it'll show. And we mentioned Dr. Frank. He had a patient, and Dr. Frank is a chiropractor, but he also offers like novel therapies, electromagnetic mats, EMF, things like that. And so he was very quick to jump on board with hydrogen inhalation to be able to offer this to his clients. This gentleman was a client of his for 5 years dealing with back issues, but in recent months has had issues with his ears and just overall not feeling 100%. So Dr. Frank had the machine. He let him inhale it as well as use the ear attachments. And we'll show all the attachments that come with our machine towards the end. But right now we just want to educate and give some examples. So this is Dr. Frank at Harris Road Chiropractic with his patient testimonial for the first time using hydrogen.
So we got Mike here. Mike's been a patient in the practice for 5 years.
5 years.
Mike's been coming in for a long time. And Mike just had his very first experience on the PEMF mat, which stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Treatment, as well as you had your first session of hydrogen inhalation for 30 minutes. You were on the mat for 30 minutes, right? And we're breathing in the molecular hydrogen for 30 minutes. We just finished, and this was your first time. And I want you to just explain kind of what you experienced and how you felt.
It was really incredible. Like I had watched Dr. Frank's presentation on YouTube, and it was so exciting just to get involved with this. And like Frank says, I've been coming here 5 years for my chiropractic treatment. It's completely transformed my entire body. Like my lower back was just like a mess 5 years ago, but this hydrogen therapy is something I had never even knew that this existed. And so now, having experienced this, I just felt this hydrogen therapy actually moving from the top of my head right down to the soles of my feet, and even on the inside of my body. And it was just like an incredible feeling, like there was a healing going on right through my whole body.
Yeah, amazing.
And even now, I had honestly, right now, just after one therapy. I had a lot of problems with this left ear, and it seems like it's almost gone now. Like it was really amplified to the point in where I really couldn't hear out of it too well. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because not only did Mike have the hydrogen inhalation through his nose, but we also have the earmuffs that we put on as well too. So Mike had the hydrogen being pumped right into both of your ears as well too. So you feel an immediate difference there, hey?
Yeah,
because we've talked over the last little while about what you recently had done to your ear and how your hearing in that one side was heightened.
Yes.
Because it was clean.
Yes.
And because it just felt different, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So now, how is it now?
It feels like it's totally balanced now.
That's awesome.
It's really a miracle.
Well, how long have you had the imbalance for? That's been at least, what, a month or two?
No, it's been about 2 months.
Oh,
now.
2 months, yeah. I remember you told me about it. So, interesting. Well, I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's quite amazing technology that I have here. I'll be doing a lot more videos with a lot more patients as well too, but thank you for sharing, right?
Thank you, Frank.
I just want people to share their honest experience, and pretty cool, isn't it?
And we want to thank Noah for doing the video.
For doing the video, yes. Thank you for doing the video, Noah.
Very cool to see that. Very cool. I mean, we can talk about it all day. When you hear somebody who's ill, who uses it and notices an impact, that's what we do it. And that particular machine is called the Tech Pro 900. We'll show you a little clip on that a little later. It is our baby. It is one of the only 4-in-1 systems that gives you inhalation, ear attachments, eye attachments, and water attachment. You can also inhale pure oxygen, pure hydrogen, or a combination of both called oxyhydrogen. So it's as well-rounded as a system as you're going to find. And we've got the best price on the market for something of that quality level. So the biggest thing with all this, and again, in prepping for the show, I wanted to do a deeper dive of, we know a lot about hydrogen. We tell people about it. We toss around verbiage all the time, words like apoptosis and things like that. And I just kind of thought the average person doesn't have a clue what any of this means. And even though we use the verbiage, if we had to do like a science class presentation on it, would we actually know what that means in itself? So the more research I did, there are many things hydrogen benefits, from digestion to energy levels to anti-inflammatory, antioxidation, your brain, your heart, your organs. I mean, there's a lot of things that it does, but it seems like the most important, or one of the most important areas of your body that it affects, is right at your cellular level. It's called the mitochondria. And we've all, if you can remember back high school biology, we've seen images of cells that look kind of like this, all the different, elements. And then we're also, the blue things in this image are the mitochondria. And we're told that, they help with cell division and energy storage and things like that. But there's a lot more to it, in fact. And we'll get into that here. So I got a video clip from Gary Brecka basically saying that aging in itself is a mitochondria disease. It's not a natural thing. It's not a normal thing. You shouldn't just get old and sick and assume that that's how it's supposed to be. It is actually an illness within your mitochondria, and we will explain further ways that you can help improve your own, but effectively what's happening in your cells that then cause these problems, and also how hydrogen can benefit that. So this is Gary Brecka on aging as a result of poor mitochondria function.
We've realized now is that aging is a mitochondrial disease. Inside of every cell in your body is a little powerhouse, a little battery called the mitochondria. About 110 trillion of these in the body. In fact, 10% of your body weight is something called mitochondria. Human beings are not powered by the food we eat or the air we breathe or the nutrients and the supplements that we take. We're powered by one energy source called ATP. Adenosine triphosphate, and it's made in this little mitochondria. So we know now that as the mitochondria becomes progressively less efficient, we age at a faster. So the more that we can do to nutrify and supply nutrients to the mitochondria, the more power the cell will have to do its job, eliminate waste, repair, detoxify, regenerate. And so therefore, the longer we will live.
So essentially the mitochondria, these little pink things, why they are important is they actually have their own genetic makeup. And this is what they look like in your cell. It's not like this image here where there's just a couple. In fact, muscle tissue like your heart will have thousands of them per cell because they need that much more energy to be stored. Your thigh muscles, they're meant to store and propel your body. So what can happen is these mitochondria become linked together. In healthy cells, they will produce a new healthy cell and then kill off the old one. That's called apoptosis. But what happens when your mitochondria don't function properly is that signaling doesn't happen as it should. So you wind up holding on to older cells longer rather than like a kid, right? Like a kid scratches himself 2 days later, you can't even find where the scratch was because they're replicating cells so quick that slows down as we age. So effectively what happens is we stop killing the old cells. They stick around longer. We look old, we become oxidated. And the mitochondria, instead of uncoupling, reproducing new cells and killing the old one, they wind up actually exploding inside the cell. You literally have organelle fragments, debris in the cell that triggers an immunoresponse, that triggers inflammation. And now you have all these inflammatory related illnesses, immuno-related illnesses that simply come out of the fact that your mitochondria are not performing properly. And even worse, because they contain genetic material, if they are damaged, now they cannot help you make the right proteins to make good, clean, healthy cells moving forward. So it's like cancer cells are just, your cells have forgotten how to make good ones and they only make bad ones. And that's why it spreads. So at a very basic level, mitochondria not only reproduce the cells, but they store energy. They also do things like regulate calcium. But the big five are production of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. They regulate your immune system. The homeostasis of calcium, so it balances the calcium levels in your body, the ions exchanged, and it's programmed cell death, apoptosis, as well as stem cell regulation. We've heard of stem cell therapies to help people with like diseases where there's no other cure. This regenerative life that comes from those stem cells, all because of this mitochondria. So the way the hydrogen works is it benefits the mitochondria, helps remove those free radicals. Free radicals are those non-bonded molecules just floating in your system. So by removing that, you're now cleaning those exploded mitochondria, cleaning the debris out of your cells, the oxidation and all that, and it just lets your body get back to more of a homeostasis where it can now regulate itself. And Shayna, I mean, we know a lot about this. There's still so much more to learn, but it's a challenging thing to explain to the average person that's either A, not a doctor, or B, never liked biology in the first place. We can say things like it'll give you more energy, but how it actually does that is a very complicated thing, right? From
the mechanisms behind it has been fairly elusive to the scientific community, and that's changing now. Those mechanisms are now being discovered. But I mean, a perfect example is that one of the benefits to hydrogen used to be that it was anti-apoptic, which means it prevented cell death, which isn't really accurate.
Yes.
Because as you see with the mitochondrial function, it programmed cell death. So it's not anti-apoptic, it's in a way pro-apoptic, but more on just the side of being balanced and reestablishing that homeostasis.
That's right.
And one of the things that I did want to talk about too is that hydrogen has been discovered, and this is one of the first discoveries of hydrogen's benefits, is that it's a unique selective antioxidant in that it only scavenges for the hydroxyl radical, which is in your cells, and it's the most cell damaging free radical there is, and it's a byproduct of ATP usage. So a good analogy is it's like the fuel or the exhaust to the fuel that's being used in your car, and hydrogen comes in as a muffler system to help prevent pollution in the atmosphere. And so that because what happens is because of the foods that we eat, the drinks that we drink, and the air that we breathe, the overall stress in life, our bodies aren't creating the amount of hydrogen to keep up with that mitochondria, that particular part of the mitochondria function. Therefore, the mitochondria actually has to work harder to keep up with the oxidative stress. But the conundrum is it's now creating more oxidative stress by using more power. And so, I mean, we can talk about, methylation of supplements and nurturing the cells and all that, all we want. But if your cells aren't operating the way that they should be to begin with, then it all of that supplementation and whatever else that you're doing isn't going to matter. And so the hydrogen will help create what is called an optimal terrain, optimal at a cellular level, which is balanced in that it's just doing what it's supposed to do. And then everything else seems to kind of follow suit. Anti-inflammatory pathways open up, energy levels are, and mitochondria function in itself is upregulated. Your body's own antioxidants and immune support enzymes are upregulated. Your body just starts restoring balance, and that's when you start to thrive instead of just survive.
Yeah. And here's what normal versus stress looks like. So on the left, this is a flow chart of healthy mitochondria. So food goes in, glucose, fatty acids, etc. You synthesize the metabolites. It maintains that redox potential or negative oxidation. Energy is produced, ATP, apoptosis, which is proper cell death at the proper time.
Mhm.
With the regeneration of new one, even ionic regulations like calcium. So all of that equals normal cell function. On the right, you have altered mitochondria, and now you have things like the energy cycle being stressed. So instead of making ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the most efficient form of fuel, the system breaks down into ADP, or adenosine diphosphate, or adenosine monophosphate, which are less efficient fuels because they're not able to produce the fuel, the ATP, like they're supposed to. You also have now calcium overload or necrosis, cell death. You have an increase of oxidative stress. You have apoptosis caspasis, which is not the correct apoptosis. It starts making other signaling molecules. Again, it's very complicated. It sends certain messengers to your immune system, and you now have aging, various diseases, cancer, diabetes, myopathies, obesity, etc. But this is what it essentially looks like in terms of your immune system. So we're all aware of when you get sick, you produce white blood cells. The white blood cells attack the infection, and away you go. So this is essentially what it's called. It's called phagocytosis, where your body will react. It'll produce a phagocyte, which is a giant blob that will envelop the infection and remove it out of your body. So essentially, hydrogen gas helps with this. This is the actual review. If you want to look it up, it's from Japan. This is the scientific article. But here is a quick diagram to explain this. So on the very top, you have a female 46-year-old who was a test subject. On the bottom section, it's a female 52-year-old. What they want to see here is they want to measure the size of that white blood cell enveloping the infection, or how fast can the body react to infection now before hydrogen inhalation and after. So if you look at the top left picture there, that is a phagocyte of a normal person before hydrogen. It's roughly around 5 microns in length. So pretty small, hard for your immune system to find. That's like a slow free radical. Now, 40 minutes after, it's gone from 5 microns to what looks like about 10 or 15 microns. And then at the end of that, it's gone about 4 or 5 times larger in size. Now your body can find that and it can expel that because it's a much bigger blob. Same thing with the 52-year-old lady. She goes from having a 5 to 10 micron size. Then it looks like it's about 10 to 15. And then what looks like about 25 to 30. So the whole point of that being, it helps your immune system isolate things that don't need to be there. It improves your immunoresponse, makes your body more efficient at getting that stuff out, preventing sickness, illness, disease. It's basically sharpening your butcher knife of how your body runs. The cells aren't dying too soon or too late. They're not exploding on themselves. They're reproducing and dying off properly. And with how we're supposed to run.
Your body's operating the way it should be operating at a cellular level.
That's right.
As simple as that. And you know what I like about the diagram, 2 diagrams ago about the stressed cells, is that the arrow is going backwards. What you're like from the ROS and the calcium overload back up to the altered mitochondria.
That's right.
Is what that was the point that I was making, is you get into this toxic cycle, where because you're not operating at a healthy level, you continue to not operate at a healthy level because it builds upon itself. It insists upon itself. And so you need to do something to stop that cycle and allow your body to start doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's all I'm seeing in those 40 and 60 minutes after hydrogen inhalation, is that it's like, oh, hey, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Now the phagocytes are attacking and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and get, cleaning up. Like the phagocytes are like the janitors or custodians in your cells, and they're just in there cleaning up what needs to be gone, and if they're not doing your job properly, your cells are going to end up looking like downtown East Side and just garbage everywhere and rubbish. So
yeah, we hear a lot about signaling too. There's a lot of communication that happens within the cell, where the cell is communicating to the brain or the nervous system or whatever. It's telling it that we need to do these following actions. So you mentioned the cycle here, the one on the right, that's basically a state of chronic inflammation. You have altered mitochondria, you have energy stress, it causes oxidative stress, which goes back up, alters more mitochondria, produces even more energy stress. So it's like you're putting gas on the fire. And a lot of people have chronic inflammation, don't even realize it. They don't feel sick, but they're not in a state of great health either. Just because you're not dying doesn't mean you're healthy, right? You could be dying slowly. We can't feel what, bad mitochondria. Well, you can. I'll argue that. And I have a couple of videos on you can feel it. But basically, you could be having the impression that I'm pretty healthy. I exercise. I eat pretty good. But you could still be in that cellular cycle of not being efficient.
You see it all the time. People that, oh yeah, I'm healthy. I mean, there's many different variations to that. There's I'm not in the hospital, I'm dying, so I'm fine. But there's the triathlete or Ironman athlete and stuff that's really healthy, but they're still running into issues all over the place. Whether that's issues in their joints and muscles and stuff, that there's a chink in the chain. There's something that is breaking that natural cycle of your body's ability to repair itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing battle. We're always inhaling oxygen, taking in calories, glucose, convert it to ATP, CO2 is a byproduct, water, all that stuff. It's an ongoing process. Even if you're not active, just sitting, breathing, you're respiring, metabolysis is happening, right? You're making things go. So if you don't have a way of fixing that cycle, even if you stay healthy and don't get a chronic illness and die, you will still age, and you'll age prematurely, because it doesn't have to be that way. As we heard from Gary, his belief is that aging is a byproduct of mitochondrial disease. So that's the problem. We got a couple solutions, hydrogen being one, but also a couple clips here on quick tips you can do on improving your mitochondria in addition to hydrogen. So first, here's a couple signs on bad mitochondrial misfunction. So if you have any of these symptoms, you could probably use some help in those categories. And then we'll give you some tips and ways that you can improve it on your own. So let's check out what it feels like to have mitochondrial malfunctions.
Do you have chronic fatigue, brain fog? You get tired easy from doing exercise? Or maybe you don't recover after exercise? All these are signs that you may have a mitochondrial malfunction. What the heck are mitochondria? Allow me to explain. Mitochondria is what produces energy in your cells. Now, you can have as little as 500 to 2,000 per individual cell. So example, your heart requires lots and lots of energy. Each heart cell can roughly have 2,000 mitochondria. So if you have poor mitochondria, mitochondria, you're going to have chronic fatigue, chronic brain fog, and you're just not going to be feeling very well. Now, there's 3 top things that can cause your mitochondria to malfunction. Number 1, you need to make sure you don't have any anemia, which means that you don't have enough iron to deliver oxygen to your mitochondria. If your mitochondria are not getting enough oxygen, they're not going to function well. Number 2, you need to rule out any possible mold exposure, past or current. Mold is one of the most toxic substances to your mitochondria. And number 3, you want to rule out any food sensitivity. So if you have any gas, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, that would tell you that something that you're eating is irritating you, causing global inflammation. And if you have global inflammation, you're going to have poor mitochondrial function. If you've liked this content, please like, comment, and share this with a loved one.
That's Dr. Hugh Wegworth, but basically explaining that same cycle of if you're, experiencing those digestive issues, it may not be the food, it may be mild allergies, or it may just be inflammation doing what inflammation does and causing inflammatory responses. So the byproduct of what you feel, that's not actually the symptom. That's the byproduct of the initial symptom. It just manifests itself in a lot of different ways. A lot of different health conditions could actually be stemming from that same problem. They're just going to manifest differently in you than they would me. It could be you get red eyes or you get a swollen knee once in a while. It could be something you think is mundane, but it's a precursor. It's telling you something else is going on. Don't ignore it for 20 years and find out there was something you could have done about it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are into biohacking, ways to improve themselves. On the extreme end of biohacking, people are putting microchips in their brains and bionic cameras for eyeballs. But from the health perspective, biohacking is just getting the best out of your body that you can. Athletes do it. People have done the math on 2 hours of cardio and 1 hour of weightlifting versus the other way around. And what sport are you in? And so they've really figured out
when to do cold plunges, when to do, saunas.
That's right.
There's a lot of variables, and they're not all written in stone for every single person. We are all our own individual beings, and some things work better for others. And that's the beautiful time of that beautiful thing about the time that we live in is a lot of this stuff is now starting to be figured out more and more, so people can get to can achieve the biohacking and get your body to a thriving state as opposed to surviving.
Yeah. And for the sake of speed in this episode, I do have a clip on additional ways to enhance mitochondria. I'll spare you the 1.5-minute watch. It's basically exercise, saunas, and cold plunge. So exercise, eat right, hot therapy and cold therapy are ways to do it. But I do want to play this clip on the benefits of doing that. So now you've accepted that my mitochondria is not great. I'm going to start using some hydrogen therapy. I'm going to start exercising, incorporating some things in my life. What benefits should I expect to come from that? So here's a clip on the benefits of having healthy mitochondria.
You feel fatigued, have muscle weakness, struggling with your memory, suffering from digestive and intestinal problems such as irritable bowel syndrome? If so, then stay with us and learn how damaged mitochondria may be wreaking havoc on your health. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of your cells, generating the energy you need to thrive. You need healthy mitochondria to be healthy and survive. Mitochondria convert nutrients into ATP, the energy currency of your cells, fueling everything you do. Healthy mitochondria mean more energy, better cellular function, efficient metabolism, reduced inflammation, and a stronger immune system. More energy means improved physical stamina and mental clarity. Better cellular health means slower aging and increased lifespan of cells. Efficient metabolism aids in weight management and reduces the risk of metabolic disorders. Reduced oxidative stress lowers the risk of chronic diseases. A stronger immune system helps your body fight off infections more effectively. Keep your mitochondria strong with a healthy diet, rich in antioxidants, proteins, and healthy fats. Avoid carbs, sugar, and especially seed oils. Seed oils include sunflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, peanut oil, linseed oil, and castor oil. These oils are very dangerous to your mitochondria and your body. Instead, replace these seed oils with healthy alternatives, such as pure olive oil, grass-fed butter, and ghee. Regular physical activity boosts mitochondrial function and overall health. Managing stress through meditation, yoga, or other relaxation techniques helps maintain mitochondrial health. Damaged mitochondria produce harmful free radicals, leading to oxidative stress and inflammation. Poor diet, especially one high in carbs, sugar, and seed oils, can damage mitochondria. Excessive stress, lack of exercise, and exposure to toxins also contribute to mitochondrial damage. Damaged mitochondria can lead to chronic fatigue, metabolic disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, and muscle weakness. Chronic fatigue from low energy production impacts daily life. Metabolic disorders increase the risk of diabetes, obesity, and heart disease, as well as intestinal disorders, including irritable bowel syndrome and diverticulitis. Neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's are linked to mitochondrial dysfunction, as are optical diseases such as glaucoma, which is rapidly rising and causing blindness in adults of all ages. Muscle weakness and degeneration reduce physical performance and quality of life. Protect your mitochondria by eating right, staying active, and avoiding harmful substances. Your health and quality of life depends on it. Read the labels on food packages to identify and avoid harmful ingredients. Use smart mobile applications like Seed Oil Scout to find restaurants and food stores that don't use seed oils. Want to learn more health tips? Like and share this video, comment with your thoughts, and follow us for more.
It's a great little video.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really liked the description of that. The problem with searching your ingredients is good luck finding anything that is acceptable in a grocery store. But I guess that's really the point. You know, we've created a reliance on grocery and superstores, and you know, you're buying this packaged food, and food doesn't have ingredients in it. Food's food. You know, and I get it because it's, you know, the high paced, high stress society that we live in that encourages that type of living. But you know, you got to really do your best in trying to, especially avoiding seed oils, which also should just be classified as motor oil. That stuff has no business being inside your body and will
it's made in an industrial process. Like these seeds aren't willingly, like grapeseed or rapeseed, whatever it's called, to make canola. It's not something that's like an olive where you could squeeze it with your hands and it wants to give up its oil. Those things need to be compressed under heat and pressure just to extract what little resin they have in them in the first place. We're basically making commercial grade solvents and then frying food in it. And like my daughter's sensitive, she has eczema, but if I give my daughter deep fried French fries from any fast food restaurant, she'll get constipated for 2 days. Every single time. We kept figuring out, like, what is it that's causing this? It's so intermittent. We give her fast food so rarely that this thing would just pop up every now and again. And the only thing we can bring it down to is the oils that they're frying it in. Because my daughter has eczema the odd time, that means that she's already immunosensitive. Her immune system's looking for things to attack. And she has a peanut allergy, which she's now seeking peanut allergy therapy to help with all that, right? So even if you have a mildly reactive immune system, you know, I could eat the same food and not have that reaction, but her system is just looking for things to jump on. By giving it those things, you get these weird side effects. And even as grown adults, we don't assume that maybe it's the crap I'm eating. Maybe it's the dead food in the bag. We talked about water being live in previous episodes, where your food is alive too. But if you're eating potato chips that were made 9 months ago in a bag, there's no life in that. There's no anything in that. So once in a while is okay. If you got a healthy machine, that's not going to screw it up. But it's what are you doing the majority of the time, not just once in a while. So whatever you do majority of is what you'll experience. So if you're eating clean, exercising, using antioxidants and taking care of that, paying attention to that, you're going to reap the benefits. If that's only a random thing you do once in a while, you may not feel anything because it's not predominantly how your body is being exposed, right?
It takes time for your cells to regenerate, and you know, your previous cells will pave the way for your future cells. So you have to stick with a healthier regimen for, you know, that your cells regenerate every 25 days. And so you need to be sticking on a healthy regimen for at least 4 weeks in order for your body to really start feeling, you know, implementing these changes that you're putting into your body in place. And keep in mind, we're talking about a lifetime of improper, uneducated and misinformed, but improper eating and drinking and stuff, this stuff is, in a lot of ways isn't going to go away overnight. But when it comes to hydrogen therapy, again, going back to its molecular structure, that's why Dr. Frank's patient saw such good results in such a quick time, because it has the ability to get in there and make those changes pretty quickly. I'm not saying you're going to see miracles overnight, and again, we're not fixing lifetime problems overnight, but you're going to see those results really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. If you've spent your whole life neglecting your body, or just even not really paying attention to this, don't expect it to fix itself in 2 weeks. Like any real therapy, you have to stop the negative cycle, create a new cycle, and then reap the benefits of that new cycle. And that does take time. The good news is about things like hydrogen, you can drink some water, inhale some gas, and reap those same benefits in addition to those other healthy lifestyle changes that you make. We do have a 4-in-1 inhalation machine that we mentioned earlier. I got a 55-second promo clip on our machine here, and then we'll tell you where you can go find out more information on it. So this is our baby, the Tech Pro 900 from us at Tech 4 Health. So there you have it. If you do have any questions on this, feel free to reach out. Final thought to you, Shane, before we close her out.
Well, the thing I wanted to, that I like the most about the Tech Pro 900 is the amount of hydrogen that you're getting. Earlier, Taiwan was saying on the high end of therapeutic amounts, you're looking at 250 milliliters per minute. And that the Tech Pro 900 will do 600 milliliters of hydrogen per minute. And so it will only take 10-15 minutes of sitting down and intermittently and doing this in stages. So it's not going to be as much of a big huge process as it is with other machines. So that's what I love about the Tech 4 Health products. They've been tried, tested, and are true to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve, and whether you know it or not, you're trying to achieve when it comes to your health is balance at a cellular level. And that's what the hydrogen is going to help you achieve. And I'm looking forward to helping many people out achieve exactly that.
Absolutely. And if you do want to learn more about our products, check out our website, tech4health.ca. You can follow us on Facebook. If you've been digging our shows, hit that subscribe button. It does make a difference. YouTube will show us to more people. And again, leave us any comments that you may have, any questions. We always respond, and give us that thumbs up like a good audience should. So with that, thank you everybody for joining us. We will catch you on the next episode of the Water Guys podcast. Until then, make sure you get your hydrogen, stay hydrated, and take care of each other.
We'll be right back.